Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time to be with us. We know you're really busy right now. Of course, spring practice is underway there in USC, and let us just start by asking you, how is the transition going from coming from the SEC now to USC?
Well, so far it's been so good. The big thing that I was able to keep with some continuity was both programs love football. Coming
Yeah.
from Georgia and coming from the SEC itself, USC's in the same category. They take a lot of pride and put a lot of effort and time and money into making this a top tier program. And so that part of it has been really fun.
Absolutely. Now we talk about, of course, over here, and we're biased with the SEC, but anybody can logically see that we talk about the passion of the SEC fan bases, but USC has something that's very different than any other program really in the country. It's almost like not only like a professional program there in Los Angeles, but it's almost like a celebrity type thing as well. I mean, it's not anywhere else you go and find people like Snoop Doggy Dogg hanging around the campus, is it?
Absolutely. That's one of the things it sells, when you talk about, I guess you'd have to put it in the category like a Notre Dame,
Yeah.
what Stanford's become. The biggest thing that you notice more than anything is that, it's a huge market. And when I talk
Yeah.
about a huge market, it's the second largest radio television market in the country without a football team. So there's a lot of visibility for us here on our campus as well as in the city of Los Angeles.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk to you about your SEC career just a little bit. And of course, you really began to come on the scene while at Mississippi State and came to
Absolutely.
Mississippi State with Dan Mullen there. And of course, we're part of that great, revitalization of that program there at Mississippi
Okay.
State. How was your time at Mississippi State?
Awesome. Tremendous place. Uh, Great program. Dan does a tremendous job of getting the most out of the resources that we have in the state and that we have in the program. You combine that with a bunch of Division One talent. You combine that. I think when you look at it, people don't realize that per capita of the state of Louisiana and Mississippi produces many pro football players
Yeah.
of anywhere in the country. So what we do is we knock on every door. We're a door-to-door service at that place, and it really taught me how to really go in there and work on the ground level of building the program. So, I had a tremendous time and had a chance to coach a lot of great players while I was there.
Absolutely. Now, I wrote an article this past week in one of their magazines down there, Maroon Magazine, and I really feel like that Mississippi State is one of those programs that's kind of like South Carolina, that's kind of been an afterthought for so many years. But when you take the combination of that passionate fan base, which is, just unbelievable. The first time I went down there and visited, I was blown away by how
Yes.
passionate that fan base is to have gone so many years without even an SEC championship. And they're really a team I think that can get on the rise. If the recruiting can continue to pick up, it's a program I think that can really continue to go forth from here on out.
Well, the one thing I believe has done has been the continuity there. It started from the top with Mr. Strickland and with Dan and the philosophy there of building from the ground up and having that, it can only go forward. What you see is the work ethic, you see the talent base, and you see a bunch of those kids who typically could go to Louisiana, could go to Alabama, that are staying there right there in the state and going to the home state schools, and that bodes well for the entire state as well as the SEC.
Absolutely. Now, you left Mississippi State, you went to Georgia, and I've got to say,
Just,
you've got a pretty impressive resume across the board. I mean, you don't get to choose between Georgia and USC and not have a good resume. But when you look at your resume, to me, as a person who watched the game, I've seen every SEC play over the past 3 years. Every play that's been played, I've watched it, whether later recorded, whatever the
wow.
case might be. And the most impressive job I've seen is the job that you did at Georgia, and a lot of it's getting lost because that defense, took a step back. The secondary, in particular, took a step back last year with as much talent it was lost and as much youth that
Yes.
was brought in. But people forget, not only did you come in and take over that Georgia defensive line, it had lost a lot of talent. I mean, you talk about Big John Jenkins and Kwame Gathers alone. That's
Yeah.
700 pounds of tackle in just those two guys that you lost across that line. And the defensive line was better last year with youth than it was the year before you came. How was your time at Georgia?
It was absolutely awesome. Starting with obviously from the top and with Mark Rick and his team there, you couldn't ask to go to work for a better guy day in, day out, and that was really key. The second biggest thing is there was a lot of talent on deck.
Yeah.
You know, it was just unproven talent, and so I think like all of us, we need a fresh start every once in a while, and I was the fresh start for a lot of those guys who had been behind those guys for a couple of years. And so they just needed the opportunity, and they needed a consistent plan, and that's what we tried to focus on. And it boded well for us this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing big things out of that defense in general next year.
Absolutely, and you talk about the changeover going down there, new defensive coordinator coming in, and Jeromy Pruitt. I know you didn't have a lot of time to sit down with him, but when your interaction with Jeromy Pruitt, is he the guy you think that can take Georgia to the next level?
Absolutely, there's no question. He's smart. Two things that I think that has to happen to be successful in any field is A, you have to have really competent people around you, which he is. B, you got to know how to treat people, and he does. He started as a high school football coach, and he knows how to build relationships and develop guys. And I just look at that, and I think I believe without a shadow of a doubt he'll do a great job because he's a very smart guy and was with Coach Saban for a while. And then he'll also turn around and he'll do a great job of building relationships with those players, and they're going to enjoy playing for him, and that's going to make them play at a high level.
Absolutely. Now, I want to ask you, you left there from Georgia, you headed out to USC, and as we talked about before, everybody can see that you, even though we typically, we obviously think the SEC is the best conference here. We obviously think the best fan base and all of that, but USC is just a different breed. I remember my first time to ever have any action there on the campus, and I was blown away. I mean, it's just a different world there at USC than it is other places. And how hard was it, though, for you to leave from the SEC, to leave from Georgia, and the roots that you built here through recruiting and all those things? I know some of that continues on, but you're having to make a whole lot of new contacts. How difficult a decision was it to leave from the SEC to go to USC?
It was difficult, but it was one that I couldn't turn down. There's some places that are top 10 jobs. There's certain places that are top 5 jobs. And I believe, and this is me speaking, that, the USC is one of the top 3 jobs in all of college football. Yeah. When you look at the fan base, you look at the resources, you look at the resources not only from a financial standpoint that are poured into the program, into our student athletes, but also that are here just with the sheer number of players that are in this state. I believe right now there's still, the most players in the National Football League of any state in America. So when you have that and you combine it ultimately with a young, bright mind like Steve Sarkisian, who I think is one of the sharpest and bright minds in all of college football, it made it easy when it was all said and done.
Absolutely. Now, I said this when you left to head to USC, and of course, I think everybody, I know the Georgia fan base, we have quite a following through the fan base, and every one of them understood it, and they appreciated so much your contributions while at Georgia. But I said this, I said, I really got a feeling that he's going to be back someday. I just think he's going to come back as a head coach sometime. I really believe, Coach, I'm not saying this because I got you on the line. You've got all the qualities and the makings of a great head coach one day if you choose that route. Is that something that is a goal of yours one day, to be a head coach of a college football program?
Yes, sir, it is. I think it's like anything. You've got to go through the process, and when you get that opportunity, it's got to be the right opportunity, because you don't get a lot of do-overs. There's not a lot of mulligans in college football for head coaches. And so you want to make sure you're as prepared as you can be. I always tell this to my players: a lot of guys are ready to be successful. There are not a lot of guys who are prepared to be successful. So that's how I kind of look at this whole process, is, getting myself ready with learning new things, meeting the right people, and evolving. So, I'm hoping one day I have that opportunity to be in the SEC or the Pac-12 or wherever it may be, leading a great program.
And you talked about, and I think it's very fitting when you talk about your career. You talked about, the process. You talked about, going through that preparation for it. And you really now, this is, of course, these last three programs now that you've been at, all three programs, you can take something from them and from the head coaches as well and apply to your own experiences, can't you?
No question. I've been truly fortunate, and to be quite, I've been truly blessed to have a chance to work with guys starting from Gary Barnett at Colorado to Bob Stoops at Oklahoma, with Dan Mullen there in Mississippi State, and then Mark Rick and now Steve Kroenke. I couldn't have dreamed of surrounding myself with as good as people as I've been around. The key thing is the things you take, the nuggets that you learn from those guys, and they have to fit you. And that's what's been neat. I kind of borrowed a lot from those guys, and hopefully, if I get that opportunity, then I'll use a lot of the things that I've learned from all those great guys I've been able to coach with.
Absolutely. Now, I appreciate so much you taking some time being with us once again, Coach. I do want to ask you one more thing, and I don't want to
Absolutely.
point this any specific program, but just talking about coaching in general. Of course, Georgia recently had a couple off-field issues, and it's not limited to them. It happens across the board. How difficult
Absolutely.
is it as a coach and to have to deal with all of these issues and all of these things that transpire? When you're a coach at the collegiate level, you pretty much are expected, and it's unfairly, but you guys are expected to have almost a 24-hour surveillance on these guys, and they're only 18, 19, 20-year young men. And how difficult is it sometimes to deal with that process, dealing with the players off the field?
You're a parent. I don't
Yeah.
believe you coach college football if you just want to be a coach. The coaching part is a little overrated. You're a parent. And if you're not in it to develop players, you're in it for the wrong reasons. And so it is difficult. But they're your kids. I played for a guy named Barry Switzer, who
Yeah.
once I got in this business, he shared one thing with me. He says they're not your players just for 3 or 4 years or 5 years. They're your players forever. So, I started coaching when I was around 25 years old, and I'm 45 now. And the first guys I coached are 40 years old, and we still talk.
Yeah.
So they're your guys forever. You got to constantly develop them and give them solutions to their issues. Obviously, they got to be alert that they are different. They're not just your typical student on a college campus. They're student athletes, and there's a lot of things that come with that, pluses and minuses. So you're just constantly educating and teaching them, and and turning hopefully those guys into productive citizens when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. And like you just said, to last in this business, it's got to be about more than just X's and O's. You've got to love the development of players as well. Now, Coach, after we get done airing these shows, we always have a recording left afterwards. And so I'm going to get you on recording to say this. When you get your first head coaching job, you're going to come back on the show so we can say, I told you so, right?
Absolutely. I'll be there. Wish you guys the best, and hey, hopefully we'll see each other, guys. I believe we'll see in New Orleans next year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hopefully we'll see you guys then. So thanks for everything. Appreciate you guys.
Best of luck at USC, Coach. Thanks for being on the show.
Talk to you later. Yes, sir. Bye-bye.